In 2015, we took a trip up the East Coast. Along the way, we stopped at Assateague Island National Seashore. This national park is known for the wild ponies that roam the island. Rather than recreating this amazing camping area, I am duplicating the video from another of my playlists, East Coast Adventure. If you would like to see more of that trip, you can do so at the playlist noted above. The morning of September 15th, I woke up to take Sebastian for his walk. As I exited the coach, I noticed the spots where the Griscoms were parked were empty. Roy was gone. Rosie was gone. Bo was gone. The Winnebago and the trailer were gone. There wasn't even a grease spot left. Somebody has kidnapped Roy and Rosie. I was expecting a ransom call any moment. I was just about to call the police when up they drove. Apparently further renovations to the Winnebago were in order and the necessary supplies were at Home Depot and not available at Walmart. We were still 248 miles from Assateague National Seashore. Obviously, 248 miles in a car and without pets is not a hard day, but we both have pets and we're not exactly in cars. To make it even worse, it was a tough drive. It was very scenic though, just very slow. The most noticeable scenic area was the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. In reality, it is mostly bridge, but there are also 2 tunnels along the way. The tunnels are for the shipping lanes and the boats pass above you. It cost Mary and me $31 to cross. Roy and Rosie were slightly less, but still quite expensive because they were pulling a trailer. To go around would be a long way, and it was an adventure to go across. Once we got on the island, travel was still very slow as we were passing through a large number of small towns. Hey, we're on vacation. On the southern tip of the island, we were in Virginia. Somewhere along the way, we passed from Virginia to Maryland, adding our 18th state to the map. Maryland's not very big. I don't see much change in the map. Once we arrived, we were having a hard time finding the campground. We stopped at the visitor center and they gave us some directions. To get to the national campground, you had to pass through a state park, which also had camping. The state park campsites were smaller, but they were right on the beach. There are no hookups at the national park. There's a dump station, but other than that, the electricity and water is strictly up to you. When we found our spots, they were not on the beach, they were in the middle of a sand spur patch. The sand spurs were well fertilized by the ponies. In spite of this not so great start, Assateague National Seashore turned out to be one of my favorite places on the total trip. The ponies roamed everywhere. They blocked the road and the rangers had to get them off. They would wander right up to your campsite. The beaches are beautiful, and people camp right on the beach. Of course, you got to be willing to sleep in a tent to do that. Speaking of sleeping in a tent, there was a couple in a tent just down from us. They were in the midst of moving to a different location. Sebastian and I stopped and talked to them, and apparently when they first arrived, the only location for them was in the sun. They had gotten permission to move to a shadier spot after someone left. Later, I wondered why they had not stayed on the beach. I certainly would have. That evening, we drove to Ocean City to Higgins Crab. The specialty of the place was crab, as the name would suggest. Looking at the menu, however, we didn't know exactly how to order the crab. They have them by the singles, the half dozen, and the dozens in sizes of medium large and extra large. Roy and Rosie ended up ordering a soft-shell crab. Mary and I opted for crab cakes. I couldn't let it go at that, though. When in Maryland, you've got to have Maryland crab. I ordered one, a medium one. When dinner arrived, I didn't know exactly what to do with my crab. Fortunately, they were used to people like me. They sent a guy over as a tutor to show me how it was done. It was very good. Next time, I will order the crab. Breakfast the next morning was at home, consisting of the goodies and the milk purchased the night before at Wawa's. Seabass and I went for a walk, and we talked to the tenders again. We found that the sand spurs weren't as universally everywhere as originally thought, but you did still have to watch where you walked. Don't forget, there's ponies. We all piled in the Jeep once again and went exploring. We found some very interesting places. There were boardwalks that went out along the marsh area, which made it very nice. Speaking of nice, we ran into two guys in a Sprinter. They showed us their new van. It had a bed that came down out of the ceiling for sleeping at night, and yes, they both slept in the bed. Roy told him about building his own, and they both decided that was beyond their ability. There were also a lot of bikers everywhere. I couldn't help but notice that the two guys didn't hold hands when they were around the bikers. Sometime that afternoon, Roy and Rosie got a visit from a park ranger. They weren't exactly parked on the pad for their site. The reason was they'd been given a site that had some shade, but to get in the shade, you had to park a little closer to the trees. No problem, the lady said. The shade was for Bo, and she understood. She got to meet Bo. She had cats of her own. Later, Roy made a sign and put it in the window. Bo on board, or something like that. This was so future park rangers wouldn't hassle him. That afternoon, we made new plans. That's the advantage of not having advanced reservations. You can adapt. We decided that Roy and Rosie would head to Allentown, Pennsylvania to see Aunt Honey. Mary and I would head to Lum's Pond in Delaware. We would meet up again in Williamsburg and then head south. Seabass and I took a walk that afternoon. There running around the campers was a cat that appeared to be Bo. I peeked over to where the Griscoms were parked and they were gone. I gave them a quick call and found that they were at the laundromat halfway towards town. They had Bo with them. The cat we saw must be a twin. That evening, Mary, Sebastian, and I went to the beach. Roy and Rosie decided not to go. To me, this was the highlight of the trip. Mary agrees. We were out on the beach with the Atlantic rolling in, the sun was setting, campfires to the left and right, but all alone on the beach. It was very nice. I would like to go back someday. enjoyed a gorgeous sunset. Then it was dark and time to go home.